Great. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson-Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, August 8th, 2024. And we're called to order at 1:01 p.m. in lieu of roll call. I will do roll call. Terry's here. Savannah?
Here.
Joel?
Here.
And Andrew?
Here.
Great, thank you. Just to note for the record that Commissioners Riojas and Mulder are not on, but we do have a quorum. Okay, so item 2, it will be slightly different than listed. It will be approval of the legal action report / minutes for the meeting of July 25th, 2024. Could I have a motion to approve as submitted, please?
So moved.
Oh, go ahead. Who's Savannah?
Sure.
Okay, and who will second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Is there any discussion of those minutes? If not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry says aye. Savannah?
Aye.
Andrew?
Aye.
And Joel?
Aye.
Great, thank you. And they pass 4-0. Okay, and none of our applicants are here at the moment. So let's move on to item 4, which is public and institutional use in a development zone discussion. 4A is discussion on the use of public and institutional buildings as comparative properties in development zones. I think we want to wait till we have everyone. Is that still the case?
Yes, especially Jan.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'm just making a note here that item 4 was taken out of order. Then we'll go on to item 5, which is Task Force on Inclusivity Report Recommendation. Item 5A is discussion on best practices for naming of city and county owned physical assets, and that we will not have a report at this time. Okay. Item 6 is current issues for information discussion. 6A is minor reviews. Jody, would you like to update us on those, or wait until Michael's back and do it the next time, or what?
No, Michael sent them to me. I was just emailing the applicants real quick.
Okay. Why don't you
Like, dude, what's up? Let me get to that email from Michael real quick.
Okay.
He is out sick today.
Okay.
So he did a minor review for a door at 502 East 4th Street, and he did a minor review for a fence and gate at 826 North 7th. And Joel helped him out with that. Joel, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
No, the door at 502 East 4th Street was
Or 405 or 502?
I'm sorry, 502 it was. Is that right? It's 502 East.
502.
Jody said 405. Maybe I made a mistake. 5. Okay, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it was 502.
I have problems with numbers. It was 502. My apologies if I said 405.
Oh, okay. No worries.
502 East 4th. Okay.
And it's kind of an interesting story. The reason for the replacement of the door is there was a break-in at the house. And it actually with like burglars and stuff breaking in. But it was fine. It was all wood replacements. It matched up perfectly with the guidelines of West University, so it just was real quick and went fine. 826 North 7th Avenue, that did not proceed as fluidly. It was over a fence that was built too high and was solid across the front yard, and we came to a compromise position with the owner which is we allowed him against the guidelines to keep the fence as a solid fence along the sides, but in front of the house, because of the apartment complex parking next door, the lights were shining into his living room and other living space, the bedroom. But we made him shorten it so that you can still have a good front view of the house. The purpose of the West University guidelines is so that the fences in front are supposed to be see-through so you can see the historical house. And so we said, okay, well, we'll let you have a solid fence, but you have to lower it so we could still see the front. And that's the conclusion we came to.
Okay, did you note that this was not a precedent or anything?
Yes, and indeed we did, that it was particular to the parking situation with the
Good.
modern apartments, right next door.
Excellent.
And
Okay.
that was the two that we did, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, any other ones, Jody, or were those the only two for since our last meeting or whatever?
No, he also did one for 130 East Congress, which was a sign, 82 South Stone, which was also a sign, and 5841 East Fort Lowell. He just did that this morning for the roof on the commissary, a portion of the roof on the commissary, and Ricky was helping out with that.
Oh, so I'm sorry, so it's 4551 East Fort Lowell?
No, 40. Did I say that again? 48, 50, now you've got me doing it. 5841
In the street?
Fort Lowell. You got Fort, all right.
Yeah.
Apparently it's a number problem that I have.
East Fort Lowell or,
East Fort Lowell, yeah.
okay, and that's part of commissary roof?
Yes,
Okay, hold on a second. All right, so that was, so did those, that was this morning, and what the upshot? Jody?
sorry, say that again.
What was the upshot of those reviews?
He didn't tell me, I'm assuming they were approved.
Okay, so who just joined us on the phone?
This is Stephen Farley. I'm trying to join on Zoom, but it says the meeting hasn't started yet.
You might have the wrong link.
Yeah,
It's the link
I'm
on
gonna
the
send
page.
that out to everybody again.
Yeah, so Steve, why don't you wait and see what Jody
Okay.
says, because it'll be easier for you to be on the Zoom, right?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Yeah.
Just, okay, you try that while we're going on with our next item here, just real briefly.
Okay, good. I'll wait to hear from her.
Yeah, and
Thank
so,
you.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so let me see where we were. So do you have any upcoming minor reviews?
yes, I think Michael will be scheduling some.
Okay. I'm gonna note that Steve Farley joined 108 on the phone, but then we'll wait till he gets back on virtual if we need to. Okay, so basically Michael will schedule more. Okay. So item 6B is appeals. And do we have any appeals?
We do not.
What about 6C zoning violations?
As he says, we are continuing to work with Rick Saldate in our office to address this.
Okay, and 6D, does anyone have a review process issue at this time they want to bring up?
I do, but I have to talk to our people who are posting for me.
Who are posting?
Yeah, I think that they did not change the connection information, maybe, that's the problem. But I just sent that out, so
Okay,
that's an internal issue.
okay, posting issue, Jody, to check. When we were reviewing the 725 LAR/minutes, Savannah brought up a good point that we're getting really weak on saying anything at all about courtesy reviews. And so Savannah and I discussed that a little, and we thought that it might be good, just like we do before we do a motion on an actual case on a non-courtesy review, just summarize some of the points, so that, people don't have to listen to the recording if they just want to see quickly. Does that make sense? If you're still willing to do that, Savannah, that would be great. Or we can also ask, like Andrew's been great about sending some of his motions that some of the rest of you have. So when they're complicated, so that might be a good thing. Okay, anyone else have a review process issue? Okay, so now we will go back to item 3, but before we do, I want to say, so Steve Farley, are you on? You're on.
I am, yes.
Okay, and there you are, Steve. Hi. So basically, what time did you think you got on Zoom? You probably got on about 1:10. You've been on a minute or so, or two.
I got on about 12:57, but that was the bad link. So
Yeah. I got you at 12:57. Oh, let's just say you got on about 1:08 by phone, and then you got on about 1:10 on Zoom, because we need that.
that was right to me.
Yeah. Okay. And Brent Jones, and you're here as an applicant as well.
Yes,
Okay, should we say you joined about 1:10 as well? I think.
yeah, sounds about right. I actually tried early, like 12:58, but had some issues, but I got on.
Yeah, I think we had the wrong, so now we're all set. So,
Okay.
okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call back to item 3. Historic preservation zone review cases that we review under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0 and historic district design guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. Case 3A is SD 0724-00062, the Stone Avenue Underpass and 6th Avenue Underpass, upgrade, restore existing lighting, patch repair, and paint exterior walls. It's a full review, it's individually listed. It contributes to the Warehouse National Register Historic District, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Now, is no one here for that case, Jody?
Yeah, Roger is not, I emailed and sent a chat, he is not, in attendance.
Okay, Roger, not here.
Yeah, Kessler, he's with DTM.
Okay, how do you spell Kessler?
Kestler.
Okay, and I'll put spelling question mark. Okay, great. Case 3B is SD 0724-00068, Stone Avenue Underpass, installation of artwork on the Stone Avenue Underpass walls. Full review, individually listed. It also contributes, the underpass contributes to the Warehouse National Register Historic District, and we would use rehabilitation standards. Jody, is that the same applicant?
No, that is actually a different applicant, that's Steve Farley.
Oh,
But-
great. Okay.
Yeah, so this
Okay.
project,
Background, yeah.
yeah, so this project is being reviewed by you, as part of the AD directive. The underpass is owned by the city of Tucson, and it is historically designated, which is why it comes through you. You review for consistency with the Secretary of the Interior standards. And Steve, I made you a co-host, so you should be able to share your screen.
Oh, great. Thank you. I think
Oh, sorry, before you get started, I will add, I did have them on the same agenda because these projects, the first one and the second one kind of go together. Roger's projects, the letter A is for refurbishment of the underpasses, and this one, Steve's project, is for a tribute to Donovan Dermott. So they do go together, but we'll just have to get Roger back at the next agenda, I guess, if he's not
Okay,
here.
well, my question is anything in the review of 3A, does it potentially affect 3B or not really?
They are going to, for 3A, they're doing lighting and they're cleaning the walls and they're repainting, so I mean, in some aspects it does affect, but not really.
Okay, I just want that for the record so that we, since we are sort of, they're in tandem, the project. So, okay,
They're-
so,
Cleaning up the surface for Steve's project.
right. Okay, well, Steve, why don't you go ahead and share and we'll see what you've got.
Sure. First thing I should clarify, at least the way I read the latest agenda, there's a 3A, 3B, and 3C, and 3B was the Stone Avenue refurbishment that's also DTM, and I'm actually 3C working at the 6th Avenue underpass.
We
So
don't, Sixth Avenue's not on. We've got, unless I'm looking at the agenda for August 8th, and 3A was the underpass. Oh, wait, Stone Avenue underpass and Sixth Avenue underpass.
Sorry. So there's two underpasses that DTM is working on, and Steve is only dealing with the Stone Avenue underpass.
I'm actually 6th Avenue underpass.
Oh, did I put it on wrong? Sorry.
Yeah, that's where I was just being the confusion there.
That was my mistake, my apologies. Yes, you're correct, it's the 6th Avenue underpass. I have too many underpasses.
You've got a lot going on.
Yeah. Can you do this though, Jody, because it wasn't agendized correctly?
I'm sorry?
Can we review this even though it was not agendized correctly?
The SD number is still right, correct?
The SD number should be correct.
The website looks different from the agenda that's on the website. There's a 3A, 3B, and 3C on that one.
Yeah.
No, it's the same, but
Okay.
the number is correct. I would go forward and we can make the correction verbally that it's actually the 6th Avenue.
Okay, but the SD number is correct.
The SD number is correct.
Okay, so we're gonna hear about Sixth Avenue. Go ahead.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Let me get up I assume the committee has reviewed the proposal they sent in, and I will share that screen just in case you want to refresh your memory on it.
Yeah, you may want to just recap that, Steve. That'd
Yeah.
be for the record.
So can you see that screen now?
Yes.
Okay. Let me boost it up a little bit so you can see what's going on. And make the notes go away there. Basically, I think most of you know Donovan Durbin and the amazing things he did with his life. I first met Donovan in the mid-90s, and we both shared a passionate interest with the history of downtown and hopefully the revitalization thereof to return downtown to its glory. When he was the assistant to Carol Carpenter at the original Tucson Downtown Alliance, he and I cooked up a scheme to deal with some of the vacant retail windows on Congress Street by taking some of the historic photographs that I had gathered for my project in the Broadway underpass and the Snapped on the Street book, and I blew them up super big at Reproductions Inc. As a giant Xerox, basically, and put them all in the windows downtown to try to give people a sense of what downtown was like. And I'm sure you all remember downtown was having some pretty hard times with some bright spots in downtown Saturday night, but it was a challenging time back then. And Donovan was one of the key people who really pushed to keep the historic heart of downtown in everything that happened during revitalization. The things he did were amazing in his jobs as the TDA director, as a Ward 6 council aide, as the Park Tucson director. But even what he did on his own time was even more amazing. And he was so dedicated to upholding and remembering and bringing back the history that is throughout downtown. I think all of us were absolutely shocked when he passed away way too young. And I had it was very hard to even imagine him not being here. So when Steve Kozachik called me up and said, you know, I'm working with Erin Durbin, who is his widow, and we'd like to do a public art project to honor him. Erin was very determined that she really wanted to work on the 6th Avenue underpass, which is something Donovan had very, very close to his heart. And he had always wanted to bring it back from, frankly, the current state where it's at now, which is peeling old paint with paint colors that probably are more appropriate for a suburban subdivision than for an urban underpass. With the lighting problematic and the globes gone, and he really wanted to do something to bring that back. And he also had an amazing postcard collection of historic downtown postcards. I'd gone over with them many times. We shared our postcard collections with one another when he was around. And we, for this project, decided to go back through his historic postcards. And in talking with his family and the nonprofit that is now in his name, Donovan Dean Durbin Supports Tucson, we cooked up this art project and proceeded to get support for it. It is now a project that would work with the DTM to be able to refurbish that underpass. That's the other items that we weren't able to talk about today, I guess. Excuse me. And we are also putting 2-foot by 3-foot baked porcelain enamel enlargements of historic downtown postcards that'll be in full color or in the black and white if they're originally in black and white. And they will be affixed to the walls. And there will be 24 of them, 6 on each one of the pedestrian entrance ways that go towards the underpass.
Hey, Steve, you might want to scroll down so they can see that page.
Yeah, I'll scroll down so you can see the whole thing. So this is the basic idea. Here's the basic idea of it, is it'll look kind of like that. This isn't exactly the final selection of postcards, but I'll show you those later. But they'll be along the wall, so it gives interest and gets people through and educates them about some of the significant scenes and buildings throughout history in downtown Tucson. Part of this is I've actually photoshopped in Donovan Zelig-like into a few of these postcards to provide some, almost like when Donovan was alive, he always popped up in unexpected places. And to pop up in unexpected historic places downtown just seems singularly appropriate, and involves the viewers to be able to go in and almost do an Easter egg hunt to try to find where he's at. This is an example of one of them where actually it was Donovan and Erin. They were dressed up for Dillinger Days in period costumes. So I put them in Photoshop in one of the historic postcards looking down Congress Street. This is basically another image Photoshop of what it might look like in the underpass, so people would be able to see them. And here's more of a schematic placement of where they are in the various retaining walls. I found the original plans, the elevations for the original underpass from 1930, and superimpose them over here so you can see generally what they'll be looking like. And here are the actual postcards that will be presented. On the northeast retaining wall, there's a nice one of the Westerner Hotel, which has always had a good place in my heart as sort of a classic mid-century modern building. There'll be these are again 2-foot by 3-foot baked porcelain enamel panels, and there'll be a panel in honor of Donovan that has some words about how significant he was to downtown Tucson and its history. There's a picture in downtown on Meyer Street there. Of course, we've got the courthouse, the Indian Village sign, which is another thing that Donovan felt very strongly about, and he found it was in somebody's backyard, and Erin hopes someday it might get returned to where that's at. Another view on Congress Street there. There's the Carnegie Library, another view over downtown with a nice inscription from whoever had the postcard originally that they're heading off to Magdalena, Mexico. Again, showing how the connection between Tucson and the rest of Sonora was so strong even back then. More images, the Santa Rita. This is an image from the Historical Society so there's some great construction images of the 670 underpass. This is one that I'm going to have there from September of 1930, showing the arches clearly before they've done the bridge over the top. I love that you can see the Coca-Cola bottling plant there in the background that used to be to the north of the underpass. There's the Pennington Street looking south. There's the historic post office, some other Congress Street views, rodeo parade in 1935 going past Hotel Congress, another beautiful Congress by night view, the downtown motor hotel, another Congress Street view, Santa Rita again, the Marist College, the 1907 version of the depot, the Hotel Pioneer, and the original San Augustine, or the second St. Augustine, not third. And then that view I showed earlier, looking west on Congress Street. These were selected in conjunction with the family. So that's how they ended up there. The project is being funded privately. So this is something where we've got support from the Ward 6 office, committed $30,000. It's an $80,000 budget. 30,000 are coming from the Rio Nuevo board. 15,000 coming from Donovan Dean Durbin Supports Tucson Foundation, and I'm pitching in half of my project management and design fee to be able to help make this happen. And we're hoping to be able to get approvals this year. Get the last 2 months of this year, we'll be able to get fabrication of these. And then we'll hopefully have them all installed, and the DTM doing all of its refurbishment work by somewhere in the early spring, and we'll have a dedication ceremony. One thing I wanted to mention about the paint color, because I don't know that even the Department of Transportation has and Mobility has figured that out. I went around talking to a whole lot of people I could think of who might have some idea about the original paint color. I looked through the original coverage in the Star and the Citizen. I couldn't find any reference to color. But in the original construction photographs, particularly the finished one, there are clearly different tones on the balustrade in the back of the underpass, between the underpass and the railroad tracks. And they almost, the way that black and white translates color, it almost looks to me like it might be blues. And when you peel off some of the paint and get down the latest layer where the paint is crackling and peeling, it almost looks like there's different shades of blues, which could be really interesting. So I don't know. I'd be interested in seeing your input about paint color as well, because the current paint colors, which I mean, you see here in these images, really, I don't think have anything historic on them. They're basically concrete walls. The city knows not to sandblast anything because of the historic nature. So they would be cleaning and repainting, probably peeling off the things that are falling off, but they have a choice of what colors to paint it. And I would be interested in seeing if there was some way. I even asked Buck O'Reilly if he had any old Kodachromes that were taken back when Buck O'Reilly Chevrolet was north there in the underpass. And by the way, I highly recommend you look at the old Citizen and Star newspapers from December 1930 when this opened. It was a big deal, and all the advertisements were talking about the 6th Avenue subway and how it was proving we were a modern, progressive city. And now people will finally be able to shop north of the railroad tracks. So folks really, really excited. And it's worth reading, but I can't find anyone who has any memory or any idea of exactly what the original color is. So I'm hoping that maybe looking underneath that, determining whether or not maybe that is dark blues, light blues, and whites that are up there on the balustrade. I'm almost certain that everything else was just a plain concrete. So maybe they'll take it back to concrete gray with their paint to make it look like it did. But if you have any other suggestions, let me know.
Well, maybe what we can ask for, Steve, is that they do a forensic analysis of the paint.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Don't you agree, commissioners, that might be a good thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to Sun Construction?
I haven't talked to them. Do you think were they the original people doing this?
Yeah, it looks like they were the original contractor, and I believe they do have like archives of a lot of their old stuff, so it may be worth asking.
Absolutely. I'll try to see what I can do. I found the original plans and nowhere in the plans does it say anything about color.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
some,
Gary,
go ahead.
Jan showed up at like 1:25, I think.
Jan did?
Jan is here, yes.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't get the link to work and everybody else did, but the link that was on our page didn't work.
Okay, so what time did you get on, Jan?
I think about 1:25.
Okay,
Probably 1:20, but yeah, anyway.
okay, I'll put, okay, very good, thank you. I have a couple questions, Steve, before we ask other
Sure.
commissioners. Do you have a larger version of the tile with Donovan's picture on it?
Yeah, I can blow this up too if you want to
Yeah,
see
I
it
just wanted to see, so
easier.
there we go.
Yeah.
And it sort of relates to the one that you photoshopped. Okay,
Yeah.
let's see, I just want to read the text.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so now show me the one that you photoshopped, if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah. Oops. What did I just do?
They'll come back. Maybe you click on the
There
postcard.
you go. I got it.
Okay.
Uh,
So
go.
but actually the layout one, because it had,
Okay.
yeah,
There is this one here.
yeah. Okay, so my comment is, and I think it's a really cool idea to have this, but because these postcards are historical representations of their time period, and I think it would be really helpful to say somewhere that this, you know, this was altered to show him and his wife in the picture. Does that make sense? Because we don't want
Yeah.
someone to think this is an actual picture, because that would
Right.
be not good.
No, yeah, totally. I see that. I guess there are three that I've actually altered to include only Donovan and the other two, and Donovan Aaron in this one. The two competing. I totally see your point about wanting people to not think it's a historic picture because there's a non-historic element, but at the same time, I kind of liked the magic part about the Where's Waldo effect. Try to find where Donovan is. And if we actually had wording on it that would like point to it, would it be possible to put the wording in one other place, in another place, and say three of these?
Maybe you could say something like, look for Donovan and or his wife, or something like that in three of the images or something like that, so that he was added somehow, he was added, to the photos, to the historic photos.
So like I could put in small type underneath the other one. Oh geez, I keep.
You mean
Okay,
the one with his picture, maybe?
yeah, exactly. That I could put in smaller type with the one in his picture. Somewhere like down in here, I could have a little thing like saying,
Yeah.
"Look for Donovan and his
And
wife in three of these."
yeah, but it's only Donovan. It's Donovan's in all three, but his
Yeah.
wife is only in the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
figure out the
Donovan
word.
is in all three, and his wife is only in one.
Yeah, and what I would like to, maybe, you don't have to come back on this, but it would be nice if maybe just run it by Jody or send an email or something, to
Sure.
her. Just, because it's important, like the historical accuracy, just like when you did your other murals and stuff
Yeah.
with people and images, snapped on the whatever that was years ago. That was
Yeah.
wonderful. People are thinking that those are historic, so
No, I
people,
totally get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. And I
But
don't
that sounds like a good solution to just simply say on another one that there are three of these that have a non-historic insertion of Donovan, and then that doesn't ruin the surprise and fun part that people might find
exactly.
fun.
Yeah. So, commissioners, if whoever makes the motion, I would really appreciate if you agree with me putting that in there. So, okay, so let's look at other comments that people have. And Savannah, do you have any?
Yeah, just a few. I mean, I 100% agree with you, Terry, on having some sort of disclaimer. I like the idea of having it on the postcard, but I get the fun and the mystery. But you know, there's someone else's face. There's someone who's important whose face you're covering up. So it's someone's grandmother, someone's mom or father, right? So just having that somewhere, I agree with. And then my main question was why they were limited to the retaining walls and not like the whole underpass. I'm assuming that's like just because they're just really meant to be like a daytime thing and they're daylit and not nightlit or anything like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, first off, I want to clarify that I did not put their images over anyone else. It's always in a blank spot of the image. So it doesn't cover anything besides blank areas.
Oh, okay. I understand now. I thought it was just the face.
No,
No, it's the whole body. Everything else is placed in there as if they're doing it. I won't tell you the other two places, so you can play that game too.
Okay.
But regarding your other question, the idea was to get pedestrians to the underpass and through the underpass, but in the underpass, it's not possible to see from a distance the way you can, because some of these are good to see from across the road, and you can also see them up close. So it drags you in both ways, and it also becomes visible to cars going through and hopefully helps slow traffic down when they're wondering what it is. So it becomes a safety thing. But the idea that in the underpass itself, we did a walkthrough with a bunch of people. It just wasn't a good place to get back and look at stuff, and it just didn't seem to work. Plus, if you the way that for the budget, the way it works, we had enough for 24 of them, and to scatter them through down, they would be basically too far apart and wouldn't make enough of an impact, was the idea. So they ultimately, the family decided that they really liked it when they worked on the retaining walls on the outside. Now, in terms of lighting, I think the city is going to light that area on the outside as well as the inside. That's one of the things that they're recommending. So whenever they present, that'll come before you as well. So they will be lit in the day and at night.
So there's light on the art.
Yeah, there will be light on the art going up, down. It'll be down, pointing down at the and the light will also spill onto the art.
There's not light directly, they're just doing lighting, they're updating lighting, so there'll be lighting,
So there's lighting overhead kind of
Yeah.
shining down.
but it's not like directed right at the.
Right. Okay.
It's not going to be a big scary tunnel anymore by the time they're done with it, and that thing, that's the idea. Is this is a good way of getting attention to a beautiful underpass again.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you. Andrew, do you have anything?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could speak to the arrangement of these. It kind of reminds me of like maybe the postcards are like getting blown away in the wind or something like that.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I'm totally sold on that arrangement versus maybe something that kind of steps down and follows the slope of the underpass. So if you can you just speak to your reasoning on that?
Well, the idea basically, and let me get these up, is that they are a collection. And as you're not necessarily blowing in the wind, as you're saying, but they're scattered out on a table and you're looking at them all at the same time to make them, because postcards aren't something that generally are lined up in one place. They're scattered around the way you would get them in the mail and put them down on a table and all the rest of it. So that's the basic idea. The other thing is that also gives more capability for moving them slightly and waiting. When we do the installation, I'll be able to see what works with what compositionally and step back before we make them permanent up there. So it gives me some flexibility on site to see what's happening when they're actually 2 foot by 3 foot and interacting with one another. And it given that one half is shorter than the other, there's much more space on these walls to the north on one side, or both walls to the north. No, on the south. Sorry, got that wrong. Both on the south are longer than the ones on the north. So there's a little more flexibility to move it out that way. When you do them straight up and down, when you've got an angle moving up, it just becomes awkward and things start to look like they're not straight.
Mhm.
So you know how the visual effect of when you got like this, sometimes you think this one is too close to that. Your eye does weird things with it. So if you
Yeah.
got them kind of cattywampus like that, it overcomes any tendency for your eyes to want to say they're not straight because they're obviously not straight.
Yeah. Okay. No, I buy that. I understand what you're going for. I think the only other thing there was like the image kind of showing people standing there
Yeah.
and then the position of them.
Yeah, I emphasize these are not to scale. This was just sort
Correct.
of a basic
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah. I feel like with the kind of scattered arrangement, I would say let's just maybe make sure that none of them are like way too high,
Yeah.
so that you're like craning your neck and yeah. But yeah, I think overall this is really cool. I think it's a great addition to the underpass, and I like your selection of postcards. But you said there's a final. This isn't the final
This
collection of
part
them.
isn't, but these are the final ones here.
Gotcha.
The
Okay.
NW. Those are the final ones now. So those are for your reference, so you know.
Yeah.
I really did want to have a good oh, I keep doing that. I did want to have a good representation of significant places and buildings from the downtown area.
Yeah.
So that really kind of drove the selection ultimately. But also some entertaining cards. I really
Yeah.
like that van going down Congress Street there, for example.
Yeah, no, I think they're great. I think they fit really well. I'm curious on the enamel process for these and how
Yeah.
that's done. I know uh, there's been issues with other sort of like printed aluminum and things like that, and the longevity of them with the UV exposure that we have. So I
Mhm.
just want to make sure that these are, I know typically, baked enamel is super durable. I just don't know how that
Yeah.
works with the printing process. And I just want to make sure these
Well,
are going to look good in 10, 20 years.
this was another document that's in your packet. These are Vitrotech porcelain enamel. They're baked at 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. It's the same stuff that, you know, those old 1930s gasoline station signs were all done in
Yeah.
baked porcelain enamel. That's why they still look good today. In fact, these are actually warranted for 25 years from fading.
Great. Okay.
So these people, KVO, have been in business for decades. I've worked with them before. The National Park Service uses them for a lot of their interpretive displays. They do beautiful work, and that's why this is not inexpensive, but I want it to last. It's also scratch proof. So any scratching that might happen from vandals wouldn't affect it. And it's really the most durable stuff you could have out there. And with fading, it particularly in the north, it won't be a problem because we have the big not so wonderful underpass overpass overing the underpass eating everything. It would get some on the southern, obviously, but then these are fade resistant, so it wouldn't be a problem there.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All righty. How about Joel? Do you have any questions?
No, I like the project and the questions I have been answered already. So it really
Great.
looks great. Appreciate you,
Thank
Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jan?
Yeah, I think it's very exciting and I walk through both this and the Stone Avenue Tunnel a lot, so I'm really thrilled to see them cleaned up and this one enlivened. And I think your decision not to put any down in the under part where it's so narrow and constrained and probably more susceptible to vandalism too, I think is a good choice. So I appreciate that. And I like Terry's suggestion or your suggestion of trying to determine the historical paint color as much as possible. I think that would be a great addition. So yeah, it's an exciting project and I can't wait.
Thank you. And if any of you know of anywhere we could figure out the original paint color, please let me know. I will definitely look up Sun and see what we can find from them.
Well, if you could do that, Steve, but I think also we'll put it in the motion. I hope that there's some kind of forensic analysis on the paint color because they might
Great.
be able to remove it, look at some of the chips. I mean, they do that sometimes like do that kind of analysis with some of these historic signs that are being redone, you know, so anyway, who would like commissioners to craft a motion that would cover these points that we've discussed, you know, how to say something about the images that were changed to include Donovan and his wife, and also on the forensic investigation into the paint color to the extent possible. So any other points? Who would like to do that motion? Don't all jump in there. Savannah, how about you?
Yeah, I wasn't taking notes, I apologize. So it's a paint color analysis to determine original.
Yeah, just do some kind of, yeah.
And
Analysis or research maybe, because if, for example, if Steve is able to contact Sant or whatever, that's different than analysis technically.
and then a note about
The photos that were altered with Donovan and his wife's images, right? And to maybe review that text with Jody so he doesn't have to come back.
you with
Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
No, that sounds good to me.
Okay, good.
ready. We go back to, sorry, the agenda.
And remember that the SD number is correct,
Okay,
but it's not Stone Avenue, it's actually 6th Avenue.
yeah, okay, sounds good. All right, on the matter of SD-0724-00068, the 6th Avenue underpass, installation of artwork on the 6th Avenue underpass walls, full review individually listed, contributing to the Warehouse National Register Historic Districts. I move to recommend approval of the project as presented, with the following comments: that the underpass paint color be researched or analyzed to determine the original, and that a note be added to describe how the photos were altered with Donovan and his wife's images, and then that note or that text be reviewed with the preservation office.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there further discussion? Well, that was great. Okay, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry votes aye. Savannah? You vote?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry. Okay, Andrew?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Perfect. It passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Steve, and we look forward to seeing this great project.
Thank you. Appreciate all the work you guys are doing.
Okay, thanks. And Steve, if you do find out anything from Stunt, be sure to let Jody know that, and so she can pass it on to DTM, or if you're working with them, don't you think, Jody?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Great, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, so case 3A never showed up, correct?
correct.
Okay, so we'll go on to case 3C, which is SD 0624-00059 at 5401 East Presidio Road. This is to renovate a bathroom and bedroom addition. It's a full review from the Fort Lowell Historic Preservation Zone. It's contributing non-historic to the HPZ, and we use the rehabilitation standards. Jody, would you like to give us background?
Yes, this project was heard by the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board on July 22nd. Board members, per the minutes, board members were primarily concerned about the proposed windows. While Clinko acknowledged that the new windows match the existing fenestration, the proposed windows do not meet the criteria of the design guidelines. Board members overall suggested providing double hung windows with a vertical dimension greater than the horizontal. Additionally, the proposed windows on the west elevation were suggested to be separated to emphasize the vertical dimensions. Clinko made a motion to approve the project as presented with the following condition: that the proposed new windows be separated and double hung with the vertical dimensions greater than the horizontal. And this was approved unanimously with a vote of 4-0. Brent Jones is here to present. Brent, do you want to share your screen so you can present?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, I'm here, but I'm not on Zoom. I joined by a phone call. Do you happen to have the plans on your end? I submitted them on earlier this week.
I have the plans that were submitted prior to earlier this week, because we're still in the review process that I can share.
Okay, because I submitted the revised plan showing the new window arrangement on the side of the house there.
But wasn't that premature because the review hadn't been complete, Jody?
Correct. So the plans that we should have should be the ones that were reviewed by Fort Lowell. So you can speak to those, Brent. I'll share my screen so you can, and you just tell me which page you would like to look at. And Terry, you had a question?
Oh, okay. The change that we made is actually pertinent to two sheets. Sheet A3 shows the upgraded window schedule, and the item in question on sheet A3 concerning that updated window schedule would be item 3.
So Brent, this is a
Yeah.
new board and they have not reviewed this project yet. So what I suggest is you present the project to this new group, and then you can speak to the requests or the recommendations that Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board provided.
Oh, okay.
So I have your plans up on the screen. Just tell me what page you want to look at, and I will go to that page.
Yeah,
Okay, we can. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
we don't see the plans yet.
Oh, sorry. That was me. I'm looking at the plans.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you make those any bigger, Jody?
I was trying to make it smaller so you could see the whole thing on the screen.
Okay, well, whatever, because, yeah. It's new.
I would just have to scroll a little bit. Is that enough for you? I made it larger. You want me to make it more large?
Well, I just, whatever works for everyone else, I can follow this. Yeah.
Brent,
Oh, yes.
I'm on the site plan, so you're welcome to
okay.
make the presentation.
So beginning with the site and the changes that we're making is we're adding a 300 square foot, well, it's 299, but basically 300 square foot addition of a bedroom and a closet, a walk-in closet. This addition is at the far rear of the property. It does not have street visibility. Also, there is currently, which is also shown on this plan, the rear yard wall abut the existing home with a gate, with access outside of that rear yard. That wall will be preserved, however, it will be preserved in a slightly new location, which is shown on the site plan. It'll move over by, let's see here, by the scale of 10 inches. It'll move over by about 17, 18 foot. And on the site plan shows in the upper right-hand corner of the site drawing, it's designated with a designation number 8, which refers to keynotes. And 8 is the designation 8 in the keynotes refers to relocating the rear yard wall and gate. We will preserve the existing gate, and the new location of the wall will be for the purpose of allowing the wall to die into the new corner with that 300 square foot added space. So to maximize the rear yard, it's well within setback requirements. The color, the stucco pattern, and everything about the wall will be, everything about the entire addition for that matter, will be the same sand troweled stucco finish as existing. The wall will be the same construction, stucco and paint color as existing. The existing gate will be preserved. In terms of the home addition, same thing. The parapet height is 12 foot 4 inches. In keeping with the existing parapet height, no additional height, no changes to the height. No landscaping is really being disturbed in doing this. All of the trees the homeowners have inside the yard will be kept there. I think she had to trim a couple of branches, but I mean, she's already done that. That's not really waiting construction. That's just, we could see that the tree was growing so low to the ground you couldn't walk under. She's already trimmed it. But with conditions as they are, there's no saguaros, no indigenous plant life, no trees need to be ripped up. It's pretty plain back there. In that rear corner of the property is just kind of, aside from the landscaping that the homeowner has inside the courtyard, inside the rear wall, which won't have to be disturbed. Other than that, the landscaping outside of that is, in that area, really just dirt. You almost have to walk like 20 to 25 feet away from the house to encounter desert brush, which is just wild growing desert brush. All around the area we're putting this addition is really just dirt. And so it has a rather low impact. Windows and doors will be done in keeping with the existing units that are on the house to match. They are exterior clad windows. So typical windows, the way they do them now, they're wood, but they're exterior clad and they're factory painted white. The stucco color is like I would call it like a medium salmon color, and it will be preserved. Originally, when I presented this to the Fort Lowell board, we decided that one of the windows listed on the window schedule, and we'll get to that in a moment, would look better as double hung. Well, I think they decided they should all be double hung, but it's a very small addition. There's really only 2 added new windows, and one already is in keeping with their guidelines. There's only really one that needed to be changed, and I've done that, and we'll get to that. So that, I think, wraps it up for the site plan. Now, Jody, if you want to skip to sheet A3, A3. I've divided the sheets up into, structural sheets and architectural sheets. So basically A is architectural. Architectural sheet number 3 gives the window and door schedule. And item number 3 on that schedule would be the window in question, which I had as a casement type window, and I have modified it to be a double hung. And the criteria being that the windows are taller than they are wide. And this is typical for this type of neighborhood. There are historic homes that have windows that are wider than they are tall, but that is distinctly not the case with the homes in this area. They do tend to have a proportion that is somewhat taller than their width, and I've done that in keeping. So now that window that is designated on sheet A3, and we'll look at the elevations too, but for now on sheet A3, which is the reference plan, on the windows or door and window schedule, as it's called, item 3 is now called out as 2 because it was 1 window. Now it's 2 windows that are 3.0 by 5.0, so 5 foot high and 3 foot wide, 2 of them, double hung units in series. I call them in series because it's my intention to have them as close in the wall as possible. And as we'll see when we look at the elevations, there's really no room in that wall to spread the windows out. They really kind of need to be mounted in series, because if you get too close to the corner of the wall, it's really going to undermine the mass of these I don't want to call it barrio because it's not, but it's like these old adobe and sort of territorial style homes. They have a unique kind of look where they have a certain heftiness to their mass. They don't, there's tends to have greater wall area and smaller window openings. And it gives a certain heaviness, or not heaviness, but just a adequate mass to the home. And it's also been my experience as a designer over the years that, you want a minimum area of wall from the edge of doors to where you have an outside corner on a wall, just to give the building the adequate mass, just so it visually reads proper. And because I had the window designed as a casement unit, and we had discussed at the last Fort Lowell meeting, making it 2 casements, I did the best I could to work with the parameters that they gave, the requirements they gave me within the parameters I have to work with, to try to keep those windows as best centered in that wall mass as possible. You start spreading them out, and it's going to kind of undermine that wall mass. So that's what it means in the window schedule when I call it out. I say 2 3.0 5.0 double hung units in series. It's my intention that they be mounted, that they be in series, meaning close together, reading almost as 1 unit. Now, that having been said, I don't think there's anything else on sheet A3. I would direct you now to sheet A5. Is everybody following me so far? I guess I'll take a moment to make sure if anyone has any questions, but on sheet A5, you'll see those 2 double hung windows as well.
And this is the original presentation of them, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But these are the windows that he's referencing that he changed. If you can see my mouse going around.
Just those 2, those ones on the left there, right where your mouth.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a quick question for Jody. So when Fort Lowell said that what he's originally proposing here, these double hung, don't fit the guidelines, are they referring to their current guidelines or what they would like in their, I don't know if they fully revised their guidelines yet. Well, I haven't heard from you that they have.
They should be referring to their current guidelines, because their other ones are still in process and have not been accepted yet. I was just pulling those up.
Yeah, and usually, just FYI, we normally see those as in plain.
Yeah. So it says windows, double hung or casement, wood frame windows are most historically correct. Painted steel casement windows with divided lights are acceptable. The vertical dimension should be greater than the horizontal. And windows are placed toward the outside face of the wall.
So what he's proposing, what they want is only partially this, so the vertical dimension.
And the double hung.
But that's what was originally presented, but that's not what they want now, right? With
So
part-
what was originally presented was the casement windows or sliders. I'm not sure. I heard sliders, but he said casements, but what they requested or recommended was double hung.
So what that picture he just showed us showed the double hung?
No, the picture I showed you was the original plans that Fort Lowell saw.
Okay, so basically what he's proposing now is double hung with aluminum clad wood painted, and they're vertical. Go back to that vertically. They're taller than they are wide. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So that's my question. Other commissioners, do you have questions for Mr. Jones at this point? Or you want him to finish?
Well, while we're on the window, this is Joel. I'm not quite understanding. If the guidelines say they can be double hung or casement, why maybe I'm not understanding the guideline, but why was the casement rejected and the double hung preferred in this case?
I'm not sure, I wasn't at the meeting, but I did see Mary Lou, who is the current chair of Fort Lowell, is signed into the meeting. And you can ask her if you'd like.
Go
I
ahead.
did.
Did you hear my question?
I sure did.
Yeah.
And this house does have both types of windows, has varied windows on it, and it does have the ones that we requested on it in the view shed from the road. And this side that is, we believe the neighbor sees this window and thought that it should match what is there. And we are, and admittedly, we are in the move of changing how those guidelines read, though these are, you're right, we agree. And the homeowner was also amenable to this change. It was, she understood and was, I think, supportive of that. Would you say that as well, Brent?
Yes, Janie actually tried to join us, but she had
I'm
some
on.
issues and,
She's
She's
not
here.
oh,
I'm here. I've
okay.
been here for an hour.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, good. Okay, yes, so yeah, I'll let you speak for yourself then, Janie. I'll just take a seat here and let you talk if you want.
Yeah, I would have to say I didn't totally understand why the windows needed to be changed, but it wasn't important enough to me to push back on it. So I said that would be fine, but it's only because it was recommended and it didn't seem like a big change to me. I was happy with the first windows we had, but I'm willing to change them if that's what is required. So there you have it.
okay. All right. Other commissioners, do you have questions?
Well, I guess that's my question. Is it required? Because it seemed to me both were allowed. That's kind of my question.
Well, if
So
both
Joe,
are good and they
so-
choose one, that's fine.
yeah, the way I read it, the casement versus double hung is all fine within the design guidelines. The only thing I see in the design guidelines that we could really comment on in that regard would be the proportion. So I guess if we consider, two double hungs side by side as having their own proportion and not a combined proportion of those two windows, then that satisfies that part of it. But
And you did recognize that the original is wider than it is tall. And we were looking for that treatment that did give the space. I think in most houses, it's not a very big space, maybe a 6-inch space between windows. And so that they would appear taller than wider.
right.
And that was the case for that.
Okay.
Are
Thank you.
are we thinking that space between the windows is then stuccoed and treated like the wall surface? Or is
Yes.
it? Okay, I gotcha.
All right. Okay, anyone else before Mr. Jones wraps up the presentation? No? Okay. Mr. Jones, do you have other images you want to show us? Any other things?
Nope, I think that wraps it up. However, it does occur to me that what you're looking at there is the set of plans from the initial Fort Lowell meeting, and I have since revised them. So what I will, and they are submitted. They have been submitted earlier this week, but please give me your guidance on what you would like me to do if if that's not sufficient, because
Okay.
those are submitted. But do I need to make sure and
No, what I think you're confused, and Jody, correct me if I'm wrong. As Jody mentioned, the review by Fort Lowell and the review by us, there were two independent bodies. We respect and always listen to what Fort Lowell has to say, or what the advisory boards have to say, but both of us, both groups, make recommendations only to the planning director. And then the planning director makes the decision on what goes forward, and you get a decision letter. Now, you shouldn't have been making these revisions until both bodies heard the case, Fort Lowell and us. And then you have to wait till you get that letter, and there has to be an appeal period, and then you submit the revised plans. Is that correct, Jody?
Correct.
Yeah, so you're
oh,
gonna jump
okay.
the gun. So we're not supposed to be reviewing. We're just gonna say what we feel based on the same plans that Fort Lowell originally reviewed, to be fair, right? Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, I'm on board.
Okay, good. So, commissioners, if you don't have any other questions, are we ready for a motion? Or you want to talk what the motion would look like?
Yeah, I mean, I've prepared, but it seems like we can pretty much agree that the windows need to be separated with a vertical dimension greater than the horizontal, but since the guidelines that we're following don't say anything about it having to be double hung, I would probably just leave that out. But although it seems like, you know, the neighborhood wants that and the owner is willing, so we could include that in our motion, or we could leave it out. What do you guys think?
I mean, the
I-
rationale, this is Jan, the rationale that they've laid out seems sound, given that the house has both, but the Fort Lowell gave a reason for having a preference for the double hung. I mean, that seems,
Yeah, and this is contributing non-historic, so it's
Right.
slightly different. I think this makes a good point. And then ultimately the planning director will make a decision on
I-
what that is. Yeah, so,
Savannah, I agree with you. I think we can leave the language out about the type of window and just address the separation and the proportion. And then the director can do with that what they will, I guess.
Sounds good. Okay, and the materials were listed correct, like as, you know, the correct type on the plan, so I don't need to say anything about that, correct? Clad wood,
metal clad wood, yeah.
okay. All right, well, I'm happy to do that then, let's see.
Okay, go for it.
On the matter of SD 0624 00059 at 5401 East Presidio Road, I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with a comment that the proposed new windows be separated with a vertical dimension greater than the horizontal.
Second,
Okay, further discussion? If not, we'll go ahead and vote. Terry votes aye. Savannah? Andrew?
aye.
Joel? You still there, Joel?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I voted yes.
Okay, Jan?
Sure.
Oh, Jan, you voted aye? I didn't,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. Okay, that passes 5-0. Now, Jody, do you want to recap again for the folks in attendance, that, what happens next?
Sure. So what happens next is both recommendations will be forwarded to the director. And the director will issue a decision letter. From the date of the decision letter, there's a 14-day appeal period. During this appeal period, the applicant can appeal, the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board can appeal, or the plans review subcommittee can appeal. If they opt to appeal, other than the applicant, but if the advisory board or the plans review subcommittee decide to appeal, they will have to have a special meeting to vote to appeal. It cannot just be one person who opts to appeal. The whole advisory board or subcommittee has to agree to the appeal, and it would be a public meeting, so it would be noticed, and it would be during that 14-day period. If they opt to appeal, or you opt to appeal as the applicant, during that 14-day appeal period, you would have to submit to the city clerk your rationale for appealing, and you would also have to pay a fee associated with it. And then 6 to 8 weeks after that, it would be docketed on agenda for mayor and council to hear, and they would either uphold the appeal or not. For the record, we don't get a lot of appeals. Since I've been here, I've had 2 appeals, and that's been 6 years. So if there's no appeals after the 14 days, you would resubmit your plans, and your plans would have to address the conditions in the decision letter, and you would finish out the permitting process.
Okay,
Okay, well, thank you, and that's all for now then on that case, and good luck with the project, and you will hear when you get your letter.
okay, thank you.
Sure, thank you guys. Okay, commissioners, we've already discussed items 4, 5, and 6. We did those before the applicants got on. So we're on item 7, which is summary of public comments. And Jody, did you receive any by the deadline?
I did not.
Okay, and then could you tell us about item 8, future agenda items?
We have some IID projects that will be coming up along 4th Avenue. And those are the primary ones that I can think of.
Are you looking at those for August 22nd or spread out starting August 22nd?
Spread out starting August 22nd. It's based on when they would be submitting formally. You would also have a streetery, AKA an outdoor patio cafe that will be, that's along Congress, that'll be making its way to you. And then probably something a little later on from West University. Those are the items that I can think of right now.
Hey, Jody, what are the 4th Ave ones?
628 North 4th Avenue, but that has to go to West University before it comes to you.
Okay.
Oh, and the other 4th Avenue one was 305 North 4th Avenue. I don't think of them as 4th Avenue, I think of them as West University. And the commercial historic district, I divvy my stuff up by historic district, not by location on the street. But the other one is the hut.
Okay. All right, does anyone have any questions? Depending on who we have on at that time at the meeting, if we can get enough folks together to talk about item 4, correct? Because we still won't have Ricky on.
Yeah, and I'll keep that as just a,
Standing item, yeah, okay.
yeah, standing item, so it's on the agenda, so when we actually hit that magic number, it's ready to roll.
Okay, does everyone think they can make the 22nd? Did we hear that Ricky couldn't do any meetings in August, or was it just this one?
I heard both meetings in August, she will not be present.
Okay, so what about the rest of you for the 22nd?
I'm good.
Yeah, I'll be there.
I'm good.
Okay, so
Joel, I'm good.
let me look real quick at something. So that would be the last meeting in August, right? Yeah, the 8th and the 22nd.
Correct.
That's great. I will be in the UK, but I'll just be having like coffee or something when we have the meeting. So, alrighty. If there's nothing else, Jody, did you have anything else? No?
No, just as a reminder, I mean, you guys already had the presentation, but the ADU presentation Corin will be giving it this time, and it'll be at the commission this week, the
Yeah.
full commission.
Everyone should have gotten their agenda, so it's on there. So I was gonna say something else. I can't remember now. It's important. Eek. Oh, we'll also probably next time have the first part of the underpit, the 3A will come back on, right?
Hopefully, I will talk to Roger and see what happened to him.
Yeah, and then that would be good to have. And if you do talk to him, mention that, you know, kind of our motion on this, on that, because it's important. I don't know if he'll be doing that forensic analysis of the paint color, if they're gonna remove the paint chips and stuff, you know? So, okay, so let's go ahead and adjourn if there's nothing else, and I hope everyone has a good rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, you as well.
Take care.
Thanks. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.